Hello, race fans. I'm Danny Padilla, and you are chilling with the villain. I'm sitting here with Michael Vanderieat. He's got some stories to tell us. He's another race car driver up in eastern Missouri area. So we're just going to talk about something, kind of something came up on the podcast a couple weeks ago that got his name mentioned in it. So we're going to talk a little bit about that, but we're not going to dwell on it, but we're going to talk about it. But the main thing we're going to talk about is get to know this guy. He's well known in his community. He's and in the racing industry. He's been racing for quite a few years. He's got 25 years under his belt, just like me. So we're just going to talk a little bit about that. Michael, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So why don't you tell everybody a little about yourself? So let's start with how you started in racing.
It's kind of a funny story. I was raised in racing. I attended my first race when I was 2 weeks old. Went every week with my dad, and when I turned 18, I bought a scratch-off lottery ticket, and I won $1,000. I bought my first race car off a scratch-off lottery ticket.
Oh wow!
That's no joke.
Wow.
No
so
joke.
did you have a bomber enduro?
Yeah,
or
it was like what we called them as pure stocks. It was basically it was a 78 Chevy Monte Carlo. You knocked the windows out of it. You had to have the stock dash in it. Stock steering column in it, but you took all the seats and stuff out. We ran like the boat fuel tanks.
Okay.
Had to have stock springs, stock motors, and you couldn't even have headers. You could. We just cut the exhaust pipes off by the firewall, and that's what we raced.
So how long did that last?
About a year.
All right, right
Yeah.
on. So then from there, did you just continue racing, or
Yeah.
did you, or did you have a break, or what was it? How do you like really get into it? And
We bought this car, $1,000. It was already pretty well ready to go. We painted it, and then I bought a '73 Chevy Nova, and I was going to turn it into a Sportsman, I guess is what they call it now.
okay.
Got the roll cage in it, and then a guy offered to trade me another car, so I traded it. That was ready to go, and we raced it for a year, and then I sold that and went straight into B-Mod racing.
Oh wow! So you got into B-Mod. So that's one thing I never really got into. I'm kind of like, I started in factory stocks myself, and like I said, I've got 25 years in, just like you do. And but when I went into modifieds, I never kind of looked back, and I don't like, like where I raced in Arizona, they had IMCA rules, and I can't stand claim rules or any kind of rules where you can cheat.
Right.
I figure if you want to outdrive me or outdollar me, I'm okay with it, but don't cheat me. So, and so then I've always kind of liked it where I've lived was USRA, so I was USRA everywhere I ran, and there are some places in Arkansas that have IMCA, but that's more out west, I think, and up north as well.
Yep.
Up in Boone, the Boone area, of course, because
Yep.
they got the Boone Nationals there. But I just kind of stayed in modifieds and just absolutely loved it, and just recently got competitive. Just my finances changed, and I was just able to get competitive. And that was my biggest thing for me. But so let's continue on with you. So you got this car, you had a couple cars, and you ran this little, and you ended up getting into a B-Mod. You said.
Yep.
So
Got into a B-Mod, wrecked it really hard one time at Montgomery County Speedway, which doesn't exist anymore, and got cut out of the race car. And the following year, we put that car back together, and we turned it into an A-Mod. And really, the reason we went A-Mod racing is because the cars weren't really so much different. Everything suspension-wise back in those days were pretty well the same. It was basically motor changes. It was just a bigger motor. So, and we could run a spoiler and stuff like that. So we changed that car into an A-Mod and won the track championship that first year out.
oh wow.
Yeah. So,
well, that's saying something. That's not bad.
So we kind of started with that.
So basically, your first year you got serious with it. You got a championship out of it.
Pretty much.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's pretty awesome.
I had a lot of help from a lot of smarter people than me. So
right.
But we
Let's
got
just kind of take it from here, from there. So you
then
got out
we
of
raced that car for a year or two, and then we sold that car and decided we were going to buy a brand spanking new car instead of buying somebody else's hand-me-downs. And I bought a car from Jimmy Owens. It's when he was with Performance Chassis. He had just left them and was starting Loose Grub. So the car was technically a Performance branded chassis, but built by Jimmy Owens. We raced that car for 2 years. We did really well with it, and we were actually on swing arm back then. So I love swing arm. It kind of, Rusty Schlink is kind of the big swing arm guy now with Rayburn. Of course, Rayburn's gone.
Right.
And but yeah, we raced swing arm all those years because that was a Jimmy deal, and we went to the Governor's Cup at Calvert City, Kentucky. There was 140, 50, 60 cars signed. I mean, there was a ton. And this back in the 90s, I guess. I guess it'd be 2000s. About 2007, I'd say, 2007. Went down there with this swing arm car at this big old ginormous racetrack, Kentucky Lake Motor Speedway at Calvert City, and we run sixth in the A main out of 160 cars. So
oh wow!
It was something for
awesome.
a small. I mean, we come in there with a half-ton pickup truck and a flatbed trailer and all our crap thrown in the bed of the truck, and there was guys after the feature walking down with big old toter homes and 3 race cars, like crawled up under my car, like, who are you and what are you doing?
So,
you know?
yeah, right. So that's the thing. That's what people don't understand. Toter homes do not win races.
Not at all.
I absolutely love the guys that show up on a flatbed trailer, just like Kenny Schrader did last year. Showed up in an open trailer and smoked their butts.
Yep.
And I just love that. I mean, of course, Kenny Schrader's got some laps in him.
Right.
But I'm just saying, for the average person to show up with an open trailer and you're competing against guys with money, who cares about the toters, you know? But if you show up with money and you smoke their ass, there's no better feeling.
It just tells you who puts the work in.
So let's fast forward through all of the years. What have been your accomplishments, and this will be a 2-part question. So what are your accomplishments,
Sure.
and what's the accomplishment that in racing that you're going to remember forever?
Oh man, probably. Well, we've won 6 or 7 track championships. You know, a couple different tracks in the modifieds. We won a Missouri State Championship in 2008. That's back when UMP and they didn't have regional points series. They had the national, and then each state had their own points deal. So we won the Missouri State Championship in 2008, and that was pretty cool. It was fun. I'm not a big points racer, but that year it was fun. It was me and Jason Russell were actually back and forth every week fighting for that deal. And God rest his soul, Jason Russell is no longer with us. He died in a boating wreck a couple years ago, but he was a hard racer, and he was kind of my villain, I guess. Since, you know, that's your podcast, the villain. Jason Russell was definitely the villain. You know, and there's not a lot of people like Jason. If you like Jason, he had a really tight group. Everybody else wasn't liked very much, and I was one of those people on the outside.
Yeah,
you know.
Well, yeah.
So, we beat and banged a lot.
That's kind of how. Speaking of villain, that's kind of how I ended up getting my name. I was a take no shit kind of person, you know, and somebody trashed me, I'm gonna trash you. I trashed somebody under caution, and that was like the really thing that got me called the villain. A guy got tired of me beating him. I'm coming out of turn 4, and I'm passing him for second place, and he just spins me, loops me. I throw it in reverse and finish the race 6th or so in reverse by the time I got it in gear. And then once I got the car spun back around, I kind of did a Rockford and spun it back around, went all the way around and caught him, and the flag man's waving the flag, just waving it, yellow flag telling me to slow down, and I just went up on the berm on the inside of 1 and 2 and found him and got him and spun him out, and the crowd went absolutely insane, and I was the villain from there. So that's kind of how the villain came along. You can run me hard. Rubbing is racing. We're gonna get into each other. Sometimes you're the windshield. Sometimes you're the bug.
That's right.
But don't trash me, or I'm gonna trash you.
Right.
So
when it becomes a habit is when it becomes a problem.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? If it's the same guy hitting you every race, or he's hitting you every lap, you know, sometimes you just gotta. You know, I'm a little guy, so sometimes you just gotta show the bully what's up.
Right on.
You know what I'm saying?
So you've got a few championships under your belt. 5 or 6 or 7. You said 6 or 7. You said.
Track
And
championship.
And how many races you got?
Total races? Oh man, I wouldn't even begin to tell you. 25 years worth of probably my slowest year, other than maybe my first year, was at least 25 nights a year. So, you know, so last year we ran 32, 33, something like that nights. So, you know, you're figuring, let's see here, that'd be, 150 every 5. So, a lot. We'll just leave it at a lot. I ain't going to take my shoes off and count.
Right.
So,
so you've been in the Kryptonite for the last few years. That's kind of what you chose.
Yep.
In a short sentence or a short story, why are you choosing Kryptonite?
Short sentence would be best tech support and the best people in the business, in my opinion.
I see. So so are you talking about Freddie, or are you talking about his son?
Talking about Freddie, Tyler, Corey at the shop, Chris, the other Freddie's other son, Tyler's brother, Nathan. It's a family-run deal with those guys, and they're just the best people in racing. I mean, they've never met a stranger, and they would give the shirt off their back to anybody, whether they knew you 5 minutes or knew you 20 years.
This was a car brand new last year, right?
Yep,
How many races did you get on this last year? How many wins?
We got 5 wins this year. And,
5 wins.
We got 5 wins, a track championship, and a national championship.
National championship. What national championship is that?
It was the first year of Power IA mods.
Power I, right on. And Power I just kind of jumped into the A-Mod deal, didn't they? They were more of a sprint car deal.
Yep. And well, here locally in Missouri, they're kind of starting. They're doing. I think they do. I don't know if they do 4 cylinders or not, but they do pure stock or street stock, sportsman, B mod or sport mod, and they do late model as well. So like limited late model type stuff.
Right on. So you're here. How far are you from St. Louis? You're northwest slightly?
Hour and 45 minutes or so, depending on how fast you drive.
Trying to put people in the vicinity of where you're at.
Yeah.
So you're just like
We're
said.
We're real close to Hannibal, Missouri, the home of Mark Twain.
Okay.
So.
All right. So you are a dealer.
Yes.
So you sell these things.
Yes, sir.
So is it kind of like the GRT by Phillips? Is it going to be are they by Vanderieat or?
Yes. We call it. It's the business name is VR Custom Performance Kryptonite by VR Custom Performance. VR Custom Performance stands for Vanderieat Racing and Performance.
Right on.
So yeah, it is. Kryptonite builds the chassis, and I will assemble it. We sell anywhere from bare frame to come pick it up and take it to the racetrack. If you got that much money, we'll put the motor in, everything, however you want it. A lot of chassis dealers aren't doing that anymore. You got to buy a complete roller. And
That's right. That's true.
A lot of people don't have $45,000 or $50,000 to spend. They want to.
That is true.
They want to piece it together or put some used parts on. Hey, it is what it is, and that's a Freddie thing. Freddie does the same thing. We run a deal, same thing that Freddie and Tyler do at Kryptonite. You buy a car from us, whether you buy it directly from Kryptonite or from us. You get it put together. If you want to put it together, fine. You get it all put together, and you think you're ready to go to the racetrack, you bring it to us. We scale it with you. We set your front end. We go through every bolt, bar, spacer, length. We check everything on that car to make sure it's 100% right, and it's absolutely free. That comes with the price of the chassis.
Awesome, cool.
So,
That's good to know. So if anybody's looking for a Kryptonite and you want some good tech support, not only will Freddie Carpenter help you out, this guy's going to do it too. So get a hold of Michael, and he's kind of like the test dummy for this thing. He's putting a lot of knowledge into it. He's doing a lot of you're doing a lot of testing, right? Still, because it's still brand new.
We kind of set out to where last year, well, not so much last year before last. We kind of dedicated the year to just trying something different every night.
Right.
Even though stuff we knew probably wouldn't work, I wanted to know how it felt in the car, because last year is when we started this chassis dealership, and I wanted to be able to help my customers with anything, like the weird stuff, Yeah, it may not have worked for me, but maybe it'll work for them. So
right on.
Every bar, every hole, every length, every spring change you can think of, we've pretty well done it. So.
Right on. So now that we've got to know you, let's talk about something else. So kind of like what we're here for.
Sure.
So a couple weeks ago, there was a new podcaster on YouTube. They're just getting their feet wet, and I guess their first or one of their first was Tim Nash, and everybody knows Tim Nash from YouTube. Yep. He's a race car driver out of Missouri too, but he's a little further away than you are.
Towards the boot heel.
Right. Yep. There you go. So he was out there. So I guess you guys have crossed paths in the last few years. You guys have been at the same track or done the same thing and been on the same track, raced against each other. And one of the podcasters said, "Hey," I think the question was, "Who have you ever stuck a right rear to, or who do you owe a right rear to?"
Yeah,
and immediately, without hesitant, Vanderieat.
Yep.
That was right out of his mouth. So explain to us, like how long ago this was. Why does he owe you one? What did you do so bad to him? I mean, we're here to open up to where there's two sides of the story.
Right.
We've heard Tim's side, so here's your chance that we want to hear your side.
Well, basically, it started out, actually, me and Tim were buddies and never even raced against each other. We knew of each other just from, we all kind of live in Missouri. We're all racers. We kind of know who everybody is. And we were kind of buddies, and we both raced a Kryptonite. He bought one right after I bought one. And I don't know if it was a competition thing that maybe got under his skin because we both had Kryptonites. I really don't know. He races at a track. It was down in Farmington, Missouri, and we had never raced there. Everybody said, "Don't go there, don't go there, don't go there. You know, you'll tear your car up. You tear your car up." And we were kind of having what we were talking about earlier, those guys that beat and bang on you at a local racetrack, and I just kind of needed a break, you know, from the normal every week, go to this track and this track and this track. I just wanted a break, so me and the wife decided, hey, we're going to go to Farmington and race. Okay, fine. Same rules. They're not sanctioned, but the same rules. So we go down there, and the first night out, we won. We got second to Tim Nash in the heat race, and then went out in the feature and won. Everything was great, no problems. So we're like, heck, we're going to go back here in a month or so. We went back. We won again. I'm like, hell yeah. So that first year, everything was fine. We went back, and we won. And so the following year, we go back, and Tim's not racing a Kryptonite anymore. And we go back, and we're racing, and Tim had run down to my pit and said, on his four-wheeler, and was telling me about a Walker air filter that he was having trouble with. And it wouldn't get any air, and he'd been fighting it for a couple weeks, and just was really ticked off, you know, and I'm like, well, did you get it figured out? He's like, yeah, Walker sent me another air filter, and now it seems to be working right. So he's like, man, he says, why don't you slow down a little bit and let me win one for my birthday? And I'm like, well, okay, sure, you know, well, I'll try my best, but I said, I don't slow down for anybody, you know. And it was kind of that friendly camaraderie still at that point. And that night, we go out there, and we were in separate heat races. We go out in the feature, and I led the first several laps of the feature, and my car kind of went away, and I didn't know what it was at that point, you know, because you're in the car, but something had went away, and I fell back to second to Gary Gross, which is Tim's brother-in-law.
Right.
And Gary's a heck of a guy, great guy. And then we had a restart, and we were all kind of, it was me, Tim, and Gary. We're all kind of right there next to each other. It's one of those tracks that they don't do the Delaware double restart where the leader's out by himself. They do, leader gets to pick inside or outside, and the other guy goes to the outside of him, kind of like NASCAR.
Okay.
So, which sucks. I don't like it. It's the dumbest thing ever. I just don't like it. I figure if you're winning the race, you ought to get the lead by yourself. You shouldn't have to race the guy beside you. But anyways. So we're trying to chase Gary down after this restart.
So is Gary in front?
Gary's in the lead.
Gary's in the lead, and you guys are second and third?
Yep. And we're running, and I'm running second, and Tim's running the top, which Tim likes to run the top. Great. I'm a bottom feeder. Everybody knows me. That's ever met me knows I'm a bottom guy. And so I'm coming up off the corner, and I'm kind of diming in the racetrack, if you know what I mean. You're running low in the bottom of the corners, and you let the car work up on the straightaways and then come back down into the corners.
Right.
No cars beside me, nothing. Well, I get hit in the ass 4 laps in a row. Bang, 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 bang. And I'm like, you know, I didn't, at that point, we don't have mirrors. I didn't know who it was. I assumed who it was, that he was just getting a run and was hitting me. I wasn't too worried about it the first time or two. I was like, well, maybe I didn't give him enough room, or maybe I'm just slow, but I never did see him. I would just feel him on the front straightaway. Every time it was the front straightaway. And he'd hit me right at the flag stand. So finally, I got ticked off, and the next lap, I come through there, and I didn't let the car work up. I stayed low coming down the front straightaway, and he got up beside me, and I run him up the racetrack going into one to show him my displeasure. Didn't touch him. Got video to prove it. Didn't touch him. Just kind of let the car work up getting into one instead of holding my lane. I let it work up, never touched him. He went up top. Somebody else spun out behind us, a lap car or something. And it spun out. I pull up beside him and I'm like, hey, man, what's up? He flips me off and dumps me under caution. All right.
Like spins you out?
Yeah, like
dumps
spins me out on the back straightaway under caution.
Oh, wow.
I mean, completely drove through me under the caution.
So
now my switch got flipped.
Okay, so do you guys get sent to the back from here? Or?
Oh, no.
I mean, were you wearing race receivers at the time?
Oh, yeah.
So was there like, hey, Tim Nash, calm down, or
not at
anything?
this point. It's coming.
Okay.
So he spins me out. I instantly get mad. I flip the switch, fire it back up, whip a Yui, come back up there, and I retaliate. He's sitting there.
And how did you retaliate?
He's sitting there at a dead stop going into turn 3, and I drove right through his left rear tire and climbed up on his deck.
So you tore some shit up.
I tore some shit up.
Did,
We were both
did
able
you,
to race.
Did you tear your car up and his?
Oh,
like, were you guys
yeah.
done or?
Oh no, we weren't done. I backed off his car. I think I backed off. He might have drove off. I can't remember. It all happened
So no
quick.
track interaction at this point?
At this point, no track interaction. We back off, and there was an official standing right there. It's a little bitty racetrack.
Okay.
Couple minutes later, goes on. We're sitting at a dead stop because they threw a red flag. This track, it's really tight and little, and they like to throw red flags and stop you so they can clean up the red. Fine. So then they come across the receiver and say, number 7 and 17, if you two touch each other again, you're getting disqualified. Okay, I knew that was coming. So we line up. We finally get lined up, and it was single file restart, and Gary was leading, Tim was in second, and I was in third. So we could take off single file restart, and Tim took a line on the high side. I guess he was going to try and take the high side around Gary. Well, I went to the bottom. He knew where I was going. Everybody knows I race the bottom. I go to the bottom, get plumb up beside him going into one. They throw a caution again for something else. Second time, throw a caution. Same thing happened. I got underneath of him. He knew what line I was going to take. He could have blocked it. He could have took my line away from me. He did not. Threw another caution. Third time, same thing. This is when the chaos started. Gave me the line. I went to the bottom. Everything was fine. We raced. I get the lead back at one point. Then Gary passes me back. Yada, yada, yada. Tim gets me again. Tim passes me. Everything's fine. Another caution comes out. Same kind of ordeal. I go up underneath him. It's like a one-lap dash type of thing. 1 or 2 laps, something like that. It was really like 1 or 2 laps left. And same deal, single file. I took the inside and going into one instead. He left me the whole bottom going down the front straightaway. We're sideways going down the front straightaway. I go into one. He's on the high side, and he's like, oh, crap, I messed up. Mike's down there. He drives straight down into my passenger door. Okay, pretty hard contact. Ripped the whole inside of my car out, all that sheet metal, cosmetic. It causes me to come up. Well, then he spins out in front of everybody. And then we get DQ'd.
Both of you get DQ'd at this point?
Well,
with just a couple laps to go, or did you finish the race?
I finished the race.
Okay.
I finished the race.
And they DQ'd you after.
Yeah, I finished the race and got second, I think, to Gary. Gary won. I even pulled down in there. And I guess what really started it is on one of the restarts when we did start. I forgot about that part. When we started side by side, he jumped the start. I was the leader, but like I said, that NASCAR stuff sucks. I was supposed to start the race, but he jumped the start. So, and I was on the inside, he was on the outside, and when we went in the corner, I threw a slide job. That's what kind of, I guess, ticked him off, was after all this. I guess that was before the wrecking part, wasn't it? And I threw a slide job and cleared him. Cleared him, I mean, I don't know. Can't put a tape measure out there. It was probably at least 6-8 foot, anyways. I'd say.
Okay.
It was close, but we've all seen a lot closer with RTJ and
right.
Hardy
I was
and
going
those
to say,
guys.
sliders are always like
It
perfectly timed.
Fender didn't touch his car.
Okay, so you didn't get into him
Didn't
on this
even
slider.
touch. Didn't even
okay,
touch.
so you're saying it's a legit slider.
It was a legit slider.
Okay.
Now, would he maybe have had to hit his brakes? Maybe. Okay, that's part of racing. I can't drive his car too, right? That's part of a slide job. And then if you back up and do a crossover, whatever, we see it on TV all the time.
Or not back up, or not let out at all and just cross over you.
Yeah,
and go take the bottom groove.
Yeah, and the funny part is it's promoted in late model racing, but if you're in a modified, it's dirty apparently, or at least to some people.
Hey, they're not going to give you the win.
Right.
So if you're not fighting for it, and
so there was
you're not racing.
There was a lot of chaos. I threw the slide job, cleared him. He hit his brakes and spun himself out and got hit by like 10 cars. Didn't tear his car, but he had to go to the back, right? Because he caused caution. That's what started the whole deal. Then he drove into my door, come up into him. He spun out again, I think. And then I finished second. They call me to the scales because they say first is Gary, go to victory lane. Second, 17V, go to the scales. I go up to the scales. They're scaling me. Next thing you know, 2 of his pit crew guys, B, and I don't know the other guy's name, B, Brian or something. I don't know what. There was 2 of them. One was an older guy. And anyways, they meet me at the scales. And this place has got, I don't know if y'all know what millings are, but millings are like ground asphalt. Whenever they take up an asphalt road, they kind of look like rocks. Mm-hmm. That's what the pits are made out of there. They're throwing crap at my car, throwing these millings at my car as I'm pulling off scales. I got to pull off down the hill, turn around, and go back to my pit. Didn't say nothing. I'm laughing, waving, whatever. So I pull down to my pit. Next thing you know, sheriff's down there. I guess they keep sheriff there for security. They escort them off the property, those two guys. And then come to find out, whether this is true or not, I don't want to start any rumors, I'm pretty sure they escorted Tim off the property as well. And they gave him enough time to load his car and they made him leave.
Okay.
Nothing
But
was ever
you
said.
don't know this? You don't know this
I
for
don't
sure.
know that part for sure. I know
Okay.
the other two did get escorted and had to sit outside to get
So after this night, so
So-
all this has happened, all this case has happened.
Yep.
And how long ago was this?
2 years ago.
2 years ago.
2023.
So he was probably in Lazarus during that year.
Yes.
He was probably in Lazarus, the one that he brought out of the weeds.
Yep, it was the
So
weedy
that
car.
car, I don't even think that car won a race. I think the first night out, that's about, I started watching him right before he got Lazarus. So we watched that, and I think he was leading the first night out ever, and something broke on it, and he didn't win.
Right.
But then I don't think he really had any success in that car. Not that I remember.
No, I don't think.
You know, and so
And
then,
he probably
so then,
thought he wasn't either.
and he did spin out a lot. I don't know how many videos where he said, "That's on me. I did this or I did that," and then now here you guys are tangling it up. And obviously, 2 years later, this interview just took place two weeks ago,
Right
and he
before the dome.
he still remembers you.
Yeah.
So if you want to clear the air or want to have something to say, what would you tell Tim if he was watching this video right now?
Tim was watching this. I was like, it was a racing deal. I didn't do anything dirty. What happened afterwards was kind of dirty on his part. But I retaliated, and at that point, I thought it was even Steven, and apparently it's gone on and gone on and gone on and gone on. We haven't even raced each other since. I guess the rumor on his podcast is that he doesn't even know where I'm at. I must have quit racing.
That's right. That's right. So he did mention that. He did mention that you probably retired or something.
Yeah,
and
something
jokingly
along those
said
lines.
something about like that. So you haven't quit.
No, and apparently I'm running my mouth. I like to talk a lot, I guess, but I don't do these. So this is the first one I've ever done. So
Right on.
So, but
Well,
yeah,
social media.
I have not quit. I'm still racing. I'm just several spots ahead of Tim, I guess. So he can't see me from where he's at, I guess.
Hey, that
know.
may be true.
I don't know. We've raced together since then. I mean, we raced at Peebly this year together, and we raced at Fairbury. He pitted right across from me. He had literally right across the aisle from me, and we were there for 3 days. And he had every opportunity to come up and talk to me about it. I'm not going to approach him because I don't care. It was a racing deal. You know what I mean? I've been taken out.
So you don't
many times.
feel you did him dirty. You think think he started it?
Oh yeah, that's what I would say. I don't know what his big heart on is about it, but if it is what it is.
So Tim, if you end up hearing this video, I would love for you to make a podcast or invite me. I'll come back to your house. I've been to your house once. I'll come back again, and we can hear your side of it. Or you can just on your own videos just comment how you feel about it. You can take a piece of this clip if you want, put it on yours, and put an answer to it. We'd love to hear your side. Or you can reach out to me. Just comment on the video, and I've got your number. I can reach out to you, and I'll hear your side over the phone, and I'll make a video by myself, and I'll just say, hey, this is the facts. This is what he has to say, and kind of clear the air. So let's fast forward to next year. Let's just say, boom, everything's great. You guys are back at Farmington again.
Yep.
What are your thoughts? Are you looking for retaliation? Are you looking for any payback?
I don't have anything to pay back for.
Great.
I listen.
And I think that's his argument right there.
I go.
He wants to pay.
Here's the reason I don't go back to Farmington. Okay, that's probably the better question: is why I would not go back to Farmington. The reason I don't go back to Farmington, that is his hometown, and I know what he's going to do. He feels, I think, that he wants retaliation. He wants to finish the job, and we don't make enough money racing to go tear up race cars. I didn't go down there to tear up his. I was racing a race. I was racing for the win, and I didn't wreck him. I didn't put him in the wall. I didn't, door him or anything like that. I slid him, and he hit the brakes and messed up. Okay, so what? I've done it too. I've made my share of bonehead moves. If I show up to a racetrack, I'm there to win. I don't care if you're Dale Earnhardt Jr., Kyle Larson, who you are. We can all be friends and drink beer in the pits. When we get on the racetrack, we're there to race. We all spend a lot of money on this, and I'm trying to grow a business. He's trying to grow a business. He's Mr. YouTube, I don't have the time to make videos about every time something bad goes wrong. I don't think it looks good to my sponsors to sit on there and play the blame game and, well, this happened, this is why I sucked this week, or this happened, that's why I won, or this guy ticked me off and I'm going to get him back. It's, to be honest with you, I'm just too old for that crap. You know, I just want to race.
Well, you
know
you got to kind of watch out. You got to be careful what you ask for too. So if you give somebody the right rear, as they so to speak, as they put it, no, you got a right front coming.
Yeah.
You're not going to get a right rear. Right rears you can handle all day long.
Yeah.
Get your right front, and then you're going to fuck around and find out. That's just how I got to say about that.
That's what's on the back of my spoilers. Fuck around and find out.
Yeah. Well, that's exactly.
And that's exactly why it's on there, is because of this situation.
Oh, really?
Absolutely.
Right on. Well, hey, there you have it. You're either going to be the windshield or the bug. It depends on how you want to play it out.
Yeah.
I say that not just to Tim, but to anybody out there who's out for vengeance. You know, I am no stranger to that. We've all had our moments, but now that I've gotten older as well, I just kind of take it. You know, I had a friend. I was racing a friend. You know, and what I meant when I'm a friend at the track, we don't hang out friends, but when we see it, we're friendly.
Right.
He come up to me as I was coming out of the pits. He didn't finish the race, so he comes up to me and he's cussing me, and I'm not even out of the car yet. And I'm like, what? And then he's telling me I ran into him, or I messed his quarter up, or I messed his door up, or whatever. So then the next day we talked on the phone, and I don't care to get into it, but we had our conversation and we got it cleared, and he did call to apologize because he saw the video. But here's what I say about anybody in any type of racing: unless you're out there slamming somebody every week and you're just driving above your means, above your car's means, or you're just driving like a jackass, we all have been rookies at one time. You've all been into each other. Yep. That is racing. I don't care if you're in a $1,000 bomber car or a $50,000 modified. Yep. You're going to get into somebody. Sometimes, and you don't do it on purpose. Sometimes things happen to where we make mistakes. We are human, and humans make mistakes. And sometimes you get dumped, and sometimes you will dump somebody, but it doesn't mean that it was on purpose. It doesn't mean that you have to get payback. It was an accident, and for the most part, it was an accident. So this whole retaliation thing, even though I've done it, I just call bullshit on it. Yeah. You know, you got to realize that we're in race cars, we're on dirt, we're doing nearly 100 miles an hour, side by side, clearing each other within inches. Yep. It takes a split second to make that accident happen. Yep. A split second. Yep. So if you want to go cussing somebody for a split second misjudgment that caused you to have to let off, or got into them, or cut your left front down, or your left rear, whatever, dude, it happens to us all. You're not the only person that got hung up and got the bad end of that stick.
And here's the funny part: the people that like to complain about that kind of stuff, oh, this person did me dirty, then they go to the dome where it's encouraged.
Right, exactly.
So they're admitting you're okay with driving people dirty and junking race cars, but you do it at their local track on a Saturday night in the middle of June or whatever it is. You're no good.
Right.
You know? Well, it is what it is. You know, we all know. We all know what's dirty and what's not dirty. Right? We've all been doing this, and for you kids that are just starting, you'll know when somebody drove you dirty intentionally, or if it was just a racing deal.
That's right. Yeah.
You know, and if it's the same guy, I've got a couple guys that have drove me dirt. It's absolute dirty. It's been the same guy the same way 4 or 5 times within a year, and they know. And I have not retaliated.
The thing that
but their day will come when it's to my benefit.
Right. and what I don't get, I guess what bugs me the most is when somebody like really gets in some serious contact with you and doesn't apologize for it.
Just go down and talk about it.
Yes. So
don't send your crew
just
down the fight.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly. So a lot of times what I've learned over the years is just talk it out, and normally you're pretty good from there. Unless the guy's an asshole. If they start talking shit to you from the get-go, and you're down there trying to make peace, then hey, it is what it is, and you're going to get yours coming. But you know what? Don't forget, while we're there to have fun. We're there to enjoy ourselves. We spend a lot of money to be there. So this retaliation, or you've got one coming, man, it's just not worth it. In the long run, it's not worth it, because when you got one coming, or vice versa, you got to give someone. Guess what? That night you're going to most likely have a DNF or disqualification, or you're just going to be out of it.
Or it's going to turn into a, well, he got me now, I got to get him.
That's
type
right.
of situation, and I got this thing that I teach my kids. I don't have a lot of big name sponsors on my car. I've got a lot of sponsors, but I don't get a lot of support, is what I should say, on my car, like a lot of people do. and I spend my money, I'm not going to let other people spend my money for me.
There you go.
You know? So.
All right, so we're going to wrap up here. I am, you know, is there anything that you just want to close out with? Is there anything you want to say?
No, I appreciate you guys all watching. I appreciate you giving me the platform, I guess, and thanks for contacting me to do this.
Absolutely.
I know you came a long way to do this.
We did, we did.
Listen, I don't have any hard feelings towards anybody. I don't. I just, listen, there's not a big future in junking race cars. The only future you got in junking race cars is your bank account gets to zero and you get to pay for ambulance rides. You know, that's how you get there.
That's right.
So I'm just out there to win races, put Kryptonite, you know, sell some race cars and be fast.
All right. Well, there's your story, guys. I would love to hear your comments on this particular one for sure. Should you retaliate? Do you believe rubbing is racing? I want to hear your comments. I'd love to hear the feedback on this. You're not going to know this particular situation, but I'm sure you've had similar situations. How would you have handled it? Anyways, I'm Danny Padilla. You've been chilling with the villain for the last 45 minutes or so. Peace out, everybody. Until next time, take care.